This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we shall still go back in time. We're going retro this week with some old classics with today's spin, I suppose. Maybe I've shed a few layers of the onion since then as well. But yesterday we talked about slaying the dragon. The day before we talked about surfing the wave, not being the wave. Today I'm gonna rehash on You Don't Have Anxiety. I think this actually was the most downloaded podcast of the Mood Prep podcasts, as opposed to the musings. So You Don't Have Anxiety is something that I decided not to talk about for quite some time because of the potential backlash, which is funny because of tomorrow's podcast, which you'll see why that's funny. But either way, you don't have anxiety. Now, this is really interesting, and if somebody wants to disagree with me on this, they're more than welcome to. As always, I always open that. If there's something that I'm missing, that you think I'm missing, then I'm more than happy to hear it. We're all here to learn. That aside, anxiety is often actually anxiousness about anxiousness. It's a meta state. Anxiety is not something we have. Anxiety is something that we do. We get anxious. The key thing here is that when we have something, it has us, right? It's very similar to be able to go, I am angry. It's like, you are not angry. You're a human experiencing anger. And what that does, it creates this gap of understanding that I no longer identify as a particular emotion, right? The thing about anxiety, and I understand, just to clarify, that there are different levels of it. Some people are at a stage where they take medication and they're very sensitive about understanding different ways to look at anxiety. So I'm encouraging you to take an open mind to this and take whatever utility from it you want to. That's up to you, right? And I'm also not going to be the person to say that medication won't be useful. I recently was sitting in a conversation with other group of trainers, and they were bagging at medication. Now, do I think people should be on medication for their life? Maybe there is an extreme rare case where that is the case. I see the utility of medication. The utility of it, if it's going to help someone get off the medication so they can own their life again. They do not build a codependency on it. Now, there are some rare examples, I understand. All of that aside, anxiousness is often an emotional response, usually a mental, emotional, a thinking, emotive response to an outside event. And anxiousness is very normal. In fact, it actually points to our potential. We wouldn't get anxious about something that couldn't happen, right? But that aside, that's not the issue. The issue is that then we get anxious about our feelings about anxiousness. Then we think about our anxiousness, and then we feel like maybe the thoughts that come up are meaning structures such as, I'm weak, I always do this, what's wrong with me? And then I get sad about the thoughts of my anxiousness. And all of a sudden, this is something that I end up learning to do really, really, really fucking well. And I end up metastating anxiousness when things happen. I walk past a gym and I feel anxious, and then I think about how bad it is that I feel anxious, because that's how the fucking world looks at anxiousness at the moment. And then what happens is I'm like, I feel really bad that I feel like this. And then I feel about my thoughts about my feelings about a gym. And this is why I say a fucking gym doesn't give you anxiety. It's a semantic response based on meaning structures about a thing. A thing is an inanimate object. It can't. Here's a sad thing for you. I'm sorry to break it to you. Puppies don't fucking make you happy. It is a meaning structure within you in the face of a puppy. Now, I say that as my little mini schnauzer's sleeping on the couch and he's fucking adorable, right? But the key thing here is that these are the emotive response that we have trained within ourselves. Now, there is an influence from the outside world, but the power is within us. And so when we have this anxious response to an outside event, and then we think and we shame ourselves about that anxiousness because we somehow see anxiousness as something negative, when as that human being was designed to experience this for a fucking reason. It's pointing to something. It's the same as sadness, same as anger. They're not negative. We shouldn't shame these things, and I shouldn't shaming it, but that's another conversation. But the key thing there is to see this, right, and look at ways to change it, and it changes for each person. But let's keep building on this. Now I think about how shameful it is that I feel this way, and that makes me sad, and that sadness makes me feel like I'm a fucking loser, and I'm now getting anxious that someone thinks that they think I'm a loser, because that's what I think of myself, and then I have this sadness feeling about my shame, and so on and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, this is a learnt response that can just fire off like that. And I say I have anxiety, as if I'm a victim of it. Now, for the majority of people, and this is who I'm talking to, and it's up to you to take whatever the fuck you want to take from this podcast, right? But it's up to you of you being able to go, you know what, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change my response day by day, inch by inch. I'm going to start changing my meaning structures, because when we start looking at the meaning structures of what all these things could potentially mean and how I feel this way, when we start to shift the meaning and we start to shift the emotive response to these outside events, then we take back control of the commands that we put into this world and how we feel. Have you ever had this? Someone's name pops up on your phone and they call you and you're like, oh, you get an anxious response. You weren't fucking born with that. The phone doesn't give you anxiety. It's a learnt response based out of some sort of fear, some sort of scared association with that name of going, oh, this person messages me, they always have a go at me, so on and so on and so forth. And if you ever moved into a space where you actually like, you know what, I don't fucking care, I don't work there anymore, the name pops up on the phone and there's no emotive response. You've shifted it. That didn't just happen. You've unconsciously started to really shift this whole meaning structure around how you perceive that person and the messages, right? And so we do this unconsciously. The power is doing it consciously, right? And when we can do that, we start to be able to truly take responsibility and ownership of our lives and the things that do give us anxiousness. So an unfavorable, but I'm happy to talk about it, point of view on anxiousness is it's something that we do. We don't have it. It doesn't have us. We're a human being experiencing emotions. What are these emotions pointing at? Is it useful? Is it resourceful for me to feel this way? No. Okay. What is a way? Is it anxiousness or is it excitement? Now, what would it be for me if this was excitement? What meaning structures could that be? What could be the best case scenario? Have you ever got anxious about something that never happened? Of course, right? Was it because you're looking at the worst case scenario? What would the best case scenario look like? What happens if you decided just to deal with reality right now and put trust in yourself rather than hoping that there's some sort of external authority that's going to praise down goodness on you and then you'll feel good? It's fucking touchy, and I get it, but it's in your power. And if you struggle with this and you want to talk through it and you want to move on past it, by all means get in touch. This is the shit that I deal with every single week. And I say shit as in general stuff that I work with, that I've had to work with on myself, but had to work with so many other people. From athletes, high-level athletes, to fucking CEOs, to salespeople, to the next PT, to a client. It doesn't matter. It's just people. Though all those things are just job titles of those people. So if you want to learn more about this and you want to move past it, by all means, get in touch with me. You can do it through my website, davenixon.com.au, or hit me up on Instagram at @ddnix. Just fill in the form. I'm more than happy to have a chat. And the thing about this is taking ownership and control of your life so this shit doesn't hold you back from living your potential, because your anxiousness is pointing at your potential. And when you truly, truly wrap your head around that, the world shifts, the world changes. Now, I'm not trying to simplify this. I'm not trying to, what I'm not doing is sitting here and saying, don't take medication, right? I'm not saying everything that's ever happened to you is your fault. That's not what I'm saying either. What I'm saying here is that you're in a position now where you've got a choice to take responsibility for what you can, so the rest of your life is the best of your life. On that note, I'm done. Team, if you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you would pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. If you haven't already, then it would mean the world to me if you would jump on Facebook and search Mood Prep Online and join the conversation there. Otherwise, team, that's it. I am done. I am out. Until tomorrow. Peace and pizza, kicked it and the dick, and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.